AMD is bringing double performance to Ryzen 7000. I mean, it's obvious, but all AMD users who have been having a good night's sleep since 2017 are going to get disturbed. AMD introduced the AM4 socket all the way back in 2017, and since then it has lasted till date flawlessly. Whereas Team Blue has been swapping out socket every year and adding more pins into them, Team Red had the customers happy by not asking them to upgrade their board if they didn't want to, unless you're trying to upgrade from 1000 series to 5000 series. But how many times have you heard of pin bending in AMD CPUs? Or how many times have you tried to fix one? Well, although this second one might not be everyone's cup of tea, Team Blue had sped past this problem as early as 2006. Then what took AMD this long? Well, turns out there are quite a few reasons. Let's have a look at them. PGA or pin grid array that AMD uses is more resistant to heatsink bending. Also, it is less expensive than LGA. Ditch everything. Here's something interesting. PGA, which AMD uses today, was introduced by Intel with their Copper-Mine Core Pentium 3 and Celeron processors based on the socket 370. AMD uses similar packages, and even some Intel mobile processors are based on PGA till date. On the other hand, LGA, which Intel uses today, was introduced by AMD for its Opteron series of processors all the way back in 2006. And that is almost the same time when Intel also introduced the LGA 771 socket, or its first LGA socket. So why the role reversal? Why did AMD stick with PGA for the consumer grade processors while they were already playing the big boys game with LGA? A quite interesting game of balls, right? Let's find out. PGA has obvious benefits. It is more durable and it is also easier to fix if you have the concentration. Here's something to think over a bit. How common is it to bend or break a pin than to damage the entire gold pad that is stuck behind a processor? Now get this. You weren't meant to start bullfighting with your processor. So at the end of the day, more AMD processors are sent to fix bent pins than Intel processors being sent for fixing broken gold pads. Also with LGA, the pins are on the motherboard. So even if you bend or break pins, a broken motherboard is far cheaper to fix than a broken CPU. You might get a daddy board, but well, you can get it up and running, especially in a world where CPU pin fixers are overly praised and admired for their work. So AMD had to follow the Intel way, and we are finally getting the LGA 1718 socket. Now that number 1718 in LGA 1718 means how many pins you're getting on the processor socket. For LGA 1151, we got 1151 pins in the socket. Same way for the upcoming Alder Lake LGA 1700. AMD still gets a lead of 18 pins, but we are finally getting LGA sockets from AM5. Just like we're ditching DDR4 from AM5, DDR5 leaks have been everywhere. Intel even confirmed DDR5 support for the upcoming Alder Lake processors, and leaks suggest they are coming to AM5 as well. Although some DDR4 modules already go faster than base DDR5 speeds, native hardware built to run at those speeds are going to be far more stable. But AMD is late in the race. Alder Lake processors are launching this fall, but there is no sign of Zen for CPUs anytime before 2022. While 5000G series of processor will keep AMD involved for the rest of 2021, Intel will already have a chunk of enthusiasts lured towards DDR5. But why did this happen? Well, when AMD introduced AM4 all the way back in 2016, they planned to retire it by 2020. But we all know how 2020 turned out, and AMD had to ditch plans of upgrading to AM5 with Zen 3 processors and postpone it till Zen 4. And that costed AMD. Stop! Will I even get performance gains? The answer, well, as you guessed, is a yes. Not only performance gain, but AM5 will also come with better power delivery to the components. Speaking of performance, think about this a bit. The Threadripper line of processors are already in the LGA socket, and with up to 64 cores, they are the most monstrous processors out there. So with the jump from PGA to LGA, we'll expect a huge performance gain, probably more than even what 3000 series to 5000 series gave us. But Intel draws in. The LGA 1700 boards that will run the upcoming Alder Lake processors are rumored to support both DDR4 and DDR5 memory. That is the next level. Although we here at Cybertech Talk haven't got our hands on a DDR5 memory module sample, from history we can say that different memory generations have completely different memory module designs. That is the same reason we can't make DDR3 and DDR4 work in the same board. Now, until the talented engineers over at Intel figure out an extremely different way of making DDR4 and DDR5 work together without any BSODs or performance hiccups, there isn't any way of of doing that? Well, I would love that if Intel makes it official. And if that happens, it is going to be an uphill battle for AMD. Anyways, all of these are extremely interesting technologies and it's nothing other than a big generational leap. As a tech enthusiast, I would love all this tech in my hand as fast as possible. Maybe I'll stop daydreaming. Next generation tech is just awesome. Heard of 6G and 7G? They are really awesome. They will make download times a thing of the past. By the way, if you want to know more about 7G, click on the card here. I've talked a lot about it. Don't forget to like the video and I hope to see you again in the next video.